something.
He's visiting his great-grandfather. He's in hospice.
All right, 5.5, the law of sines. So, the law of sines says, it's formula, if any triangle ABC with angles A, B, and C, and then opposite sides A, B, and C respectively,
What happened to this pencil?
the following is true. We have the sine of A over A is equal to the sine of B over B is equal to the sine of C over C, or we can also have the opposite. A over the sine of A is equal to B over the sine of B is equal to C over the sine of C. So, you'll remember back to geometry when you had like side, 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 angle, side, angle, all those fun things. If we're solving triangles of the form angle, angle, side, and angle, side, angle, each of these cases forms one triangle. But the one that Miss Marshall told you did not exist was side, side, angle. And that does actually exist. It can give you either no triangles, one triangle, or two triangles. And so I'm going to show you here in a second how we would solve to find those. So, possible triangles. For the side, side, angle case. Consider a triangle in which you are given side A, side B, and angle A. Now, this could be, in the scenario of an actual problem, different letters, but you have to have one side that has its angle given to you and then another side. But we're just going to use A, B, and then angle A for the purpose of the notes. By fixing side B, or whatever side doesn't have its angle with it, and angle A, so whichever angle is given to you, we can sketch the possible positions for side A to determine the number of triangles that will be formed. So an important formula to note is the formula H is equal to B sine A. So again, this formula is with the given information that we have, but if you were given different letters, then it's going to change. So B represents the side without the given angle to the side that doesn't have an angle with it. And then the angle A is the angle with the given side, which is going to be the only angle that you're given. But and so then I'm going to have a chart. The left side of the chart is going to have two things in it. So I'm going to have A is obtuse. So if your angle is obtuse, it's going to be on the left. And then on the right, I'm going to have A is acute. And there's going to be 4 in that one. I'm going back up, don't worry. I just wanted to draw the line down so that you can see. But so like I said, there's going to be 2 in obtuse and then 4 in acute. So I'm going to do like 1, 2, 3, 4. Does anybody still need this writing that's here?
I need the green stuff.
The green stuff, okay.
Yeah, I also need the green stuff.
I'm going to let y'all do that before I keep going.
Josh, Nathan, and I have successfully completed the SAT.
Nice.
For the first time, at least. I don't know. There's gonna be a second half.
How'd you feel about it?
Not that bad. Oh wait, Mason completed it too.
I know Nathan has. Have any of y'all taken the ACT?
I'm taking that. I think I might
I'm not
take it
taking
next
that
year.
till senior year.
My personal opinion is that the ACT is easier.
Yeah,
Unless you're an English person, then I think the SAT is easier, is what I've heard. So, but I'm a math person, so I thought the ACT was significantly easier.
there was some math I didn't know how to do. Like,
Do you know what it was like, or do you remember like what the
Okay,
topic was?
a lot of them that asked like, what's the amount of solutions that,
Like a percent of a solution.
well,
Or
or
like the
just like
sum
it was
of the,
like
it was like, what's the sum of the
oh
solution?
yeah,
And
or
there was
sum of the
also, like,
solution, or like how many solutions are in this graph or something. Like it'd be like 2x squared plus 1
Oh,
plus
I
7
thought
equals
you
0
meant
or
like
something.
you were given 2 like solutions like in chemistry and you had to figure out
No,
like
no.
because those are like problems that usually I don't do as many of those just because
No.
typically you don't see
There
them
was
that
one
much.
where
But
I factored it, and I don't know if it was right, but like.
Yeah, and just like
that's stuff that you haven't seen since
Yeah, a lot
potentially
of
down to algebra 1, but we do
Yeah.
touch on it in algebra 2, but it's very brief.
so.
There was, yeah, it was all algebra. The non-calculator section to me was actually harder than the calculator
I
section.
agree.
No, it
I
always
felt
is.
like I needed a calculator more for that part than I did the calculator part. It was weird.
No, it
Oh,
always
and then
is.
The
our
AP
extra
exams
section-
tend to be that way from what I hear too.
Our extra section was literally math.
My extra section was English.
My extra section was
Awful.
math. and
I got
was
the
so
math with a
upset.
calculator though, so it
I
wasn't
think
that bad.
everyone in our room got math with a calculator.
I think so. I'm not for sure.
But yeah.
Were y'all
I
in the
just-
same room?
Yeah, me.
And so was Mason. Yeah, so was Mason. The dude in front of me was like, "I'm gonna get 1,000 max. This is." I was like,
Yeah, I got a 1040. It was fine.
If my score has 4 digits in it, I'm not
Honestly, the only
Funny.
the only reason, in my personal opinion, to retake it is if you did close enough to what you would need to get a scholarship. Like if you were close but like not quite there. But I mean, if you're like hundreds off,
like I'm just.
unless you're gonna go pay a lot of money to take a prep course, and by that point you could probably have just gotten the like you probably would have just paid for the scholarship itself, so it's probably not worth it. But that, or if you have to get a certain score to get into a college, that's the only like the college of your dreams. Like that's the only scenario in which I see it.
I think like a 1200 is like a good like you could get into most.
Yeah.
That's really what I'm aiming for.
Definitely.
So
I got in with my 1040, and then I took the ACT just to see, and it wasn't like I wouldn't have gotten into anything that I didn't already get into with my SAT.
What'd you get your ACT?
I think it was a 24 cumulative, but I had like a 26 on math.
Oh, okay.
But
I just saw the 12. I saw the 2 and I was like, I'm done. And I'm not taking this again.
Yeah, right.
Woo.
Like, this
Yeah,
is
that's
good
cool.
enough.
Good enough.
That's
What if it was a 2000?
I'd be applying to Ivy
She
League.
added more questions
MIT,
to it for
here I
fun.
come.
No, Janexa added more questions just to challenge herself.
Wait a minute, can I add questions and then get them right? Because I know what they are.
No.
I'm sure it works that way.
Yeah,
Sure.
I bet it works that way.
Alright, so I'm going to do obtuse first because they're the easier ones.
How did I do this? Why did I draw it like that?
Alright, so the stuff that's given to you would be this information that's the black lines. So this would be side B and this would be angle A for both of them. And then I'm going to draw in your two possible side A values or like what it could look like. So now this arc that I'm drawing is just where it would intersect. Because basically it's like you're given a line and you're just trying to figure out where it intersects on the line. So the first scenario would be that A is less than or equal to B, and if that's the case, then we have no triangle. The second scenario is that A is greater than B, in which case we have one triangle. So if it's obtuse, all we're looking at are the two sides and seeing if it's less than or equal to, or if it's greater than, then that tells us no triangle or one triangle. However, if it's acute, we have a little more work that we have to do, and there's going to be 4 scenarios for that. So I'm going to draw all 4, and then it'll basically be like this where I write like 2 things under them. But now they're acute angles, so I'm obviously going to draw them slightly different. So, and I'm labeling them more so just like if you're going back, you can just see quickly which scenario you're looking at. But I'm not going to be like on the test, like you have to tell me that the answer was like number 4. Like you don't have to, it's just for you, or like if we're quickly looking at them, you can just be like, it was scenario 4 or whatever. But you're going to have to know the like A is less than B or whatever, like that kind of stuff rather than just scenario 4. So I don't know. A couple years ago, I numbered them and just let people do that, but then it got confusing because if they wrote them in a different order, it just. So, anyways, they're numbered just for the sake of looking at them, but that's it.
But I did it in a different order, so my scenario was 20.
Yeah.
I can, of course, they're right.
Yeah.
All right. So this is where H is important. Okay. So H comes into play with the acute ones. Okay, we don't care about H with obtuse. Some people like to look at an obtuse angle and then still find H. And I'm like, that's fine, but you just did extra work that you didn't need to do because H is completely irrelevant with obtuse. Okay, now I'm going to start with number 4 because number 4 is where H is irrelevant as well with acute. But I still will draw in what H would be, but H is irrelevant in this scenario. So, in scenario 4, okay, this is where my A is coming down here. Oh, and I guess I should still label. This is still like side B and angle A that's given to you. Helps if I actually write all this information in, you know. So again, this would be it would swing around there. And the swinging, all that it's doing is everywhere that it intersects is what that's showing us. So it's like if I had like a point on the board and it was on a string and then I were to like swing it around, that's all that that's doing for you, showing you where it is. You don't have to like draw that part. So in this scenario, this is that A is greater than or equal to B. And when that's the case, we have one triangle. So you don't actually need H for this one. It's the only one of these that you don't need H for. So I always will look first. Is it acute or obtuse? If it's obtuse, I'm obviously looking at just A compared to B. If it's acute, I'm going to look at is A greater than or equal to B. Okay, now A being the one that has the angle with it. Is it greater than or equal to B? If it's not, then I'm going to go to my next step of finding H, because H is relevant in the rest of them. So all H is this value that's dropped down that makes the right angle. Okay, it's just this. So you don't have to again, you don't have to draw this in every time you do the problem. But that's where H is occurring, is just the height. Like back when you did the area problems, 1/2 base times height, that's all H is. But you actually would have to find H. So I'm going to go ahead and draw in A and these 3 scenarios, and then I'll write below them what they are. So in this first one, A is not going to touch in the second one, it's just down here. Happens to be the same as H. And then this last scenario, it's going to actually hit in 2 spots. So number 1 is the easiest one. We're comparing H and A. So if H is greater than A, there is no triangle, because obviously it doesn't ever intersect anywhere, so it can't make a triangle. Scenario 2, H and A are the same. So if H is equal to A, there is one triangle. And then scenario 3, if H is less than A is less than B, we have 2 triangles. So now a note that I'm going to make here about this stuff is for side lengths and angles, round to the nearest whole number. For H, go to 1 decimal place past whatever you started with.
We're doing squid. I can't take pictures, but if you're wanting to have any pictures for your book, because I've got squid stuff everywhere.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, we're almost done, so I might come over and grab it. You're doing it several days this week, or is it just today?
Today, maybe tomorrow.
Maybe tomorrow. Okay, I'll come over in a little bit. Thank you. So if you started with side lengths that had a decimal, keep them. But anything that you're solving for, round to the nearest whole number. But what I'm saying with H is, because H is so specific to H is greater than A, H is equal to A, or H is less than A, if you round, it might give you false information. Okay? So H needs to go one pass. So if A was 3.4, and let's say H was 3.42, okay, you can't just round to 3.4 or to 3 because then that's going to change your information that you were given. So always go to 1 decimal place past whatever you had to make sure you get. So 8 should really be the only thing that you have decimals in unless you were given decimals to start with, which I think the Algebra 2 book is pretty nice about not giving you decimals to start with, but I think sometimes the Pre-Cal book is a little less nice with that. But anything you're solving for, round to the nearest whole number for. But yeah, so we'll look at the examples for this tomorrow, but that's enough to take in for right now that I think you're good, and that way I can run and take pictures.